Philosophers of all sorts have long debated whether happiness can in some way be driven, whether it can be driven by money. And I've included 3 quotes here that I at least found entertaining, not necessarily that I agree with them. And it'll get our brains in the right frame of mind. And then we can start to think about this philosophical question a little bit algebraically. And at least there won't be any right answers here, but it'll get our minds going a little bit. So this first quote here, money, if it does not bring you happiness, will at least help you be miserable in comfort. Helen Gurley Brown. And I guess, you can't really disagree with that statement. Money is not the most important thing in the world. Love is. Fortunately, I love money. And that's not me saying that. That's Jackie Mason. And this third statement, it is pretty hard to tell what does bring happiness. Poverty and wealth have both failed. And that's by Kin Hubbard. And I hope they've found happiness in some other way outside of poverty and wealth. Now, with that out of the way, let's try to express this whole thing algebraically. So let's say if we wanted to see how money might give us happiness. And obviously we're oversimplifying here. So I'm going to make a couple of statements. And then we're going to think about how the money might lead to happiness in each of these statements. So in the first statement, maybe happiness is just equal to money. The second statement, maybe happiness is equal to the square root of the amount of money you have. And in the third statement, maybe happiness is equal to money squared. So let's think about this a little bit before we even decide which of these best represent what our philosophies actually are. What I want you to think about is if I have $10, so let me do this in a neutral color. So if money is equal to, and let's not do $10. Let's say money is equal to $100. If money is equal to $100, I want you to think about how much happiness will we have in each of these scenarios. Let's do each of them. So scenario 1, I'll give you a few seconds, although you probably don't need it. How much happiness would you have if you have $100? Well, this is pretty straightforward. Happiness is equal to the money in this situation. So happiness is equal to 100. Now let's think about this situation. Scenario 2. If happiness is equal to the square root of money, and if money is equal to $100, how much happiness will you have? I'll give you a second to think about that. Well, in this situation, your happiness is going to be equal to the square root of money, but we know that the money is equal to $100. So it's going to be equal to the square root of 100, and the square root of 100 is equal to 10. So in scenario 2, you have 10, I guess you could call them happiness points. Now let's think about scenario 3. How much happiness will you have in this situation if you have $100? Well, your happiness, everywhere you see the word money, you just substitute it with the amount of money you have. Your happiness is going to be your money, which in this case is 100, is going to be 100 squared, or 100 times 100, which is equal to 10,000. Now what I want you to think about, and you could try this out with different numbers and see how the value of happiness changes based on what value for money you pick. But I'm going to ask you a question. It has no right answer, but I'm just curious. Which of these do you think best approximates your philosophy of how money might impact happiness? So once again, absolutely no right answer here, but we could think a little bit about what each of these statements are saying. Here we're saying happiness is directly equal to money. Here it's saying as it's equal to the square root of money. So as money grows, happiness will not grow quite as fast, although it will grow. And here it's equal to money squared. So as money grows, a larger and larger happiness will grow even faster. It's equal to money squared. So my best guess, and once again, no right answer, and my own opinion has changed throughout my life, is it's probably closest to something like this. Your happiness can, in some way, obviously if you're able to support yourself and your family, that might lead to less stress and more happiness. But the more money you have, as your money grows, your happiness might not grow as fast as that. But once again, no right answer. It's completely up to your opinion.